It's Migrating to Australia, the show where we talk about coming to Australia, becoming Australian, what Australia's like, how the hell do you get here? What was that amazing slogan? Where the bloody hell are you? Yes, that was so successful. David Bongiorno, how are you? Australia's greatest, because we're talking sport today. So we're going to go superlatives. We're going to pump it up. The greatest, most amazing, most successful immigration lawyer in the country, Mr. David Bongiorno.
Grant, how are you? It's a fine Saturday to be talking to somebody who's just got off the golf course. Today we've got Chris Andrews, who is now an Australian, was an Englishman, still is an Englishman, and he is one of the teaching professionals at one of the best golf courses in Australia, the New South Wales Golf Club. Chris, thanks for coming on the Migrating to Australia podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, gents. Thanks for having me.
When I told Grant that you're from Grimsby, he didn't believe me, and I didn't believe it when you told me. Now, you're a Grimsby boy. Is it anything like the movie with Sacha Baron Cohen?
It's hard for me to kind of talk badly about the place where I was born, so I'll keep it short and sweet. Like it's this. I was born in Grimsby. There's certain rough areas like most towns and cities, but yeah, it's probably not as bad as the movie makes out. I'll be quite honest.
And where is it geographically for those of us who don't know the layout of England too well?
Yeah, I think I speak to a lot of Australians. No one really knows where Lincolnshire is. So the demographic, it's kind of central, but east coast.
So how far from, say, London, Birmingham?
Oh, about a 3-hour drive north, directly north of London, just on the east coast there. So yeah, wonderful part of the world for sure.
Now, Chris, I can never resist getting a bit of a dig in when we talk to an Englishman on the east coast. So, is that a coast with actual sand, or is it rocks on your beach?
Yeah, the water's definitely not as clear as it is here in Sydney, but yeah, it's definitely sand and water. But
okay, so it's not one of those rocky beaches.
No, it's not. No. We have a lot of those in the UK, like the pebble beaches, but no, it's definitely sand. But yeah.
What are the golf courses like in Grimsby? Did you play as a kid there, or was it something?
I played a few times. In Grimsby, I played a few courses, but there's not many actually in Grimsby, but certainly Lincolnshire, there's quite a few good ones. I think I don't know if you've heard of Will Spa, but that's one of the top courses in England actually. So that's not far from where I grew up actually. So there's some good links courses. Like a nice kind of mixture of courses within Lincolnshire. It's quite rolling hills, and the courses kind of undulate around those. So yeah, it was a good place for me to kind of grow up and learn the game. I grew up on a course just on the edge of the Lincolnshire Wolds there, so kind of rolling hills. Actually, beautiful location, looking across all the fields. It's stunning.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned that it was a links course. What's a links course compared to a different course?
So links courses are generally found by the coast, kind of lots of undulations in it current, like real kind of tight fairways, and it tends to get quite windy around these links courses. They're quite there's no trees, quite open landscape, and it's if you so I don't know whether you guys follow golf, but there's four major championships throughout the calendar year, and one of those is the Open Championship, and that's held at these links courses, and they're renowned for being tough, like against the elements. And it's kind of how golf originated up in Scotland there, and yeah, it's a true test of golf.
It's a hard game. It's a very hard game. I played as a kid. Grant played as a kid, and then we sort of left it. What made you stick with it and devote your life to it?
Well, I think when I was growing up as a junior, I fell in love with the game. Kind of, I don't know whether you guys were the same, whether you fell in love with it the same that I did, but it was because I loved it so much. I wanted to make it my career, and that was really the start start of my passion really. As I started to get into the career, I started to learn more about the game and really start to understand how complex it is. And it's not really just about the game for me. It's also about what it brings to the leisure. Really, people can really start to mix together, and it's a great form of exercise as well. So it's not just about the game; it's more about kind of what it does to people's lifestyles and how it can change that.
Chris, you wanted to make it your career. Now, how early did you make that decision, and then how did it affect those decisions that every young adult has to make? What to do at school? Whether picking a university, or are you thinking of college in the States on a scholarship, sporting scholarship there? How was your decision as a upper primary school, secondary school kid?
I think it was I think it was more to do with the fact that I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, all my friends were going off to uni, they were going into apprenticeships, but then I was like, well, I really wanted something that I liked. I didn't want to go off and study something that I maybe wasn't going to continue with. So it was a case of, right, let's kind of go with what I like right now. And I was lucky enough to be quite friendly with the head professional at the time, and managed to get a part-time job for a couple of days a week. And then that kind of just grew and grew, and I kind of quickly realized it was something that I could continue to work in. And I consider myself quite lucky in that respect, because it could have quite easily gone the other way, really. If I'd have gone off to uni, I definitely wouldn't have been in this situation. So
did you go? But you went to the University of Birmingham you studied golf, or was it like business management with golf?
Yeah. Well, generally the PGA qualification is a foundation degree. It's actually a distance learning through the University of Birmingham. So I didn't actually attend the university. It was a distance learning through the uni. So you have to work a certain amount in the golf shop and then do all the assignments through the university. So it was a good mix for me, because I didn't like the idea of just study. I didn't like the idea of racking up all these debts in like uni accommodation. It just seemed like a really good option for me. I could continue to earn as I was learning.
It's a course that there's a few acronyms in golf. You talked about the PGA. Is that the Professional Golfers Association?
Yeah, correct.
And what does that do? Can you explain to us what the PGA does, how it regulates the game?
Yeah, so basically, the PGA qualification, we as trainees, we go through all the training. We learn about the game, and for me now, even to this day, we still kind of always kind of working on our career. It allows us to kind of improve our careers through the structures that they have. But they take care of all sorts. They run tournaments, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but for me, like, they're a really important part of my career progression. They host all these different events, and I've actually just transferred over from, well, this was going back a year now, but transferred from the UK PGA over to the Australian PGA. So that, and I think that was an important part of me getting this new role, is the fact that I committed to Australia and a future here. So that was something that I knew that I needed to do to kind of push my career to the maximum. So,
well, Chris, we'll leap into your arrival in Australia in a moment, but sure. I just want to, for people who don't know anything about a golf professional, my experience with golf professionals means that the role seems a little bit confusing to me when you're the professional attached to a club.
Sure.
I used to meet the professional at the club when I went as a kid.
Yeah.
And my contact with them was handing over my greens fees and buying a can of drink out of the fridge. Now, is that common? Is that common for small clubs that the professional has to run that little the little box with the golf hire, the club hire, and the shoes and whatnot, or
yeah? So in the in the golf business, we have a we basically call ourselves Mars bar sellers because we just and that's something I've tried to get away from in current years, especially. But I think that's a big part of it is actually not working in the job, but the integration with the members. Like,
yeah, I was just going to mention that in that what I saw, because I was only going as a kid, so I wasn't getting any attention, and I wasn't booking lessons or anything, and I was never that, never that enamored with golf. I was a hacker who used to like getting together with a bunch of mates, and we'd see how many balls we could lose. But that integration, I think, with the members seems really, really good at that grassroots level. I mean, I used to see the professional, who I didn't know what a professional meant, but the signs there, club professional, bloody blah, whoever, John Smith, and he's carrying the old folks' clubs back to the boot of the car and helping them disassemble the buggy and load it all in. And I honestly had no idea that guy was a good golf player.
Yeah.
I mean, how good? That's the question. Do you compete in tournaments still?
Professionally, I don't. At the moment, I don't compete in events. I'm able to, but the only competing that I've done recently is just in the long drive aspect of golf, which is it's a bit of a different animal, really. It's golf, but it's in a different kind of pumped up form.
How far do you drive?
It's hard to say because it depends on the conditions and the grid that we're on. But I think my longest hit in competition is 400 yards, about 400 yards.
Jesus, 400 yards. Can you convert that to metric for those of us who don't know?
It's about 375 or so.
375 meters. With
So,
the wind, or against the wind?
That wasn't actually, no.
So, Chris, is long drive the 2020 of the golf world?
We're trying. Well, we've been trying to make it that way, but with COVID restrictions, it's kind of stopped travel and stopped most things, including long drive, which is frustrating. I've been over to America a couple of times. So that was amazing to be kind of immersed in what it is over there. It's such a big. It's a bit bigger and better over there, and that's kind of where it originated. So there's a few events that take place in Australia. I think there's actually one this weekend, actually in Ballarat. So it's definitely around, but it just needs to be kind of need more people to take part in it, like we do with golf as well. So
Grant and I played at Royal Burnley. You're of ex-Melbourne, and we used to play at Royal and Ancient Burnley. So that's sort of the extent of
that's a 9-hole course, yeah.
Yeah, the 9-hole course in Richmond and Burnley.
Yeah. Nice.
The public course, private course, green fees are a big cost for private, and they exclude a lot of people. How does the golfing world deal with that? Because a lot of other sports might see it as exclusive, and basketball, football, we just need we need a ball and a space. But golf, you need a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it really just depends kind of how you go about it. Like if I was starting golf, I wouldn't go to a private club and inquire to play around. I'd be starting at the grassroots level, just trying to find a course where I could just go and play for cheap. There's plenty of those places. There's plenty of those courses around. Actually, you can find a fairly cheap green fee. I think most places you go now, there's actually golf courses all over the place if you look hard enough. But there's driving ranges cropping up all over the place. I've just moved close to Moore Park over here. I went the other day, and it's like a 3-tier driving range.
Yeah, it's a massive facility, isn't it?
I was waiting half an hour to get hit. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like the amount of people that were there practicing, it was amazing to see. So that's what we want to try and create, is that accessibility for all. Like I say, there's courses out there where it's not exclusive. You just got to shop around and try and find the best place that suits you.
If people were listening and they wanted to play golf and they were new to the game, what are some of the courses in Melbourne, Sydney you'd recommend?
Melbourne and Sydney?
Melbourne and
Sydney.
So I
don't know Sydney so well. I know there are definitely public courses around, but plenty of courses. I'm from kind of western suburbs. There's maybe 8 to 10 courses down in the western suburbs where you don't have to actually be a member to play. Even the course that I came from, actually, Sanctuary Lakes, I give them a shout out. Go and play that course.
That's a beautiful course. You don't have to be a member to play there.
No, you don't. There are certain times that are available to non-members, and I think that's the case. I think it's just, sometimes maybe a little bit daunting for a golfer to turn up to a place that's new. But yeah, you can get on most places, kind of western suburbs of Melbourne. Like I say, pretty much anywhere. I know there are a few private courses down in the eastern suburbs there, obviously on the Sandbelt. And then down at the National as well, you can't really get on there if you don't know a member.
No.
Yeah.
There's a lovely hackers course at Sunbury. So, no, it's a tough course because it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I think sometimes those kind of courses for beginners, they have a lot of character. You know, it's nice to just go there and have a hit with no expectations, and that's the good place to start. Is just try and enjoy it as best you can, and therefore you're going to improve, and then start to kind of improve in the courses that you're going to.
How is it better to be a golf pro in Australia over being a golf pro back home in the United Kingdom?
I think the main thing is probably it's an all year round sport over here. I think that's the main thing. Like golfers here as well as the UK, they love their golf equally. But I would say just the fact that I can teach all year round. Like I remember times in the UK when we'd be closed for like a month or two due to the heavy rain or the snow even. And the courses are just inaccessible. So unless you've got an indoor facility, you've got really no option to work, make a living. So that would be the main thing.
I don't know if you're a Twitter follower, Chris, but it's been beautiful this week watching the feeds from the UK users. They can go back to the pubs, but the frost and the snow and the weather has meant that I think everyone's staying in a voluntary lockdown still.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I've seen snow in April. That's just unheard of.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. So, Chris, let's talk migration, since that's what the show's all about. How did you get from Grimsby? I was going to say the home of Ali G, but no, Ali G is not from Grimsby. But hey, yeah, that's right, Stones. Which massive was he with? East Side or West Side Massive? I can't remember. But
good question.
Yeah, but how did you get here?
So on an aeroplane, actually, just kind of like,
you came on a 417. You would have come on a 417 visa.
I did, yeah. I came on a working holiday. So yeah, I came over with not many expectations really. Just came over for a little bit of an adventure, really. Nothing more. So the idea was to maybe find a little bit of work to start with in Sydney, and then go from there. But it turned into a bit of a couple of months of travel, and then I actually did my farm work to unlock the second year, which it seemed a little bit kind of funny. Like 1 minute I'm a golf coach, and the next minute I'm shoveling cow muck.
So, were you working in a dairy?
Yeah, so dairy farm
Yeah.
in Victoria. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system, but
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoyed it. It was nice to kind of it was nice nice experience.
But you've got a new appreciation about Wellington boots now, don't you?
I certainly do. Or gumboots, as they call them.
Yeah, that's right, Gumbies.
And you don't need a migration lawyer or a migration agent to do a 417. You can do them yourself, can't you?
Yes, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, to be quite honest.
Did you find any aspect of the process challenging?
No, definitely not. Definitely not for the working holiday. No, that was a couple of pieces of couple of sheets of admin, and that was really it. Yeah,
And
straightforward.
were you surprised at all by how Australians on farms can be?
Well, I was actually staying. So the farm that we worked on was actually the guy was Dutch, so it was, didn't really get. But still, at the end of each day, we'd have like a not a barbecue, but like beers next to the fire. It was nice.
Yeah.
You talk about everyone. You're the second person. Only the second person who's actually enjoyed their work experience. Most people find it. Most people find it a real burden. What would you say? What would you say about the work experience? The bush experience. Is there a prime place to do it? I mean, people go up north because it's warm. Or what hints do you have for those who have to do the bush experience because they want to get their second working holiday? Is there any tricks?
I think just expect it to be hard work because, I mean, I think these guys kind of know that they kind of got you over a barrel in terms of, well, you need your second year visa. I'm going to kind of work you hard, kind of thing. There's a little bit of that. The good thing is, like, we were isolated. You got to save a little bit of money. It's about kind of getting your head around the fact that it's going to be tough, but it's only for a short amount of time. So I think wherever you do it, you've really just got to kind of suck it up and get through it. Like, if you can, I was lucky because I was working with another one of my friends as well. Maybe try and do it with a friend, and yeah. Apart from that, really don't know too many other people that have kind of done it. But
would you do it again? Would you do it again?
I wouldn't do it again. If it meant that I could stay here, then I'd do it again.
Okay.
Did you feel exploited? Did the mechanism of wanting the second visa leave you open to exploitation?
I mean, I kind of it was kind of as I expected. So we were getting like a weekly wage, but then it was kind of harvest season, so we had to make sure that we were kind of working the hours. And to be honest, I had a good respect for the guy that I was working for. So for me, that's not so much of an issue. Like, at the end of the day, I'm getting a second year visa out of it. So I just kind of had that in mind. Right, that was the mindset rather than just to pay.
So did you just work on the dairy farm, or did you go and pick fruit or do something else?
No, that was all just on the dairy farm. So yeah.
I asked you earlier about the process for the 417. How did you find the process for the second visa? You did that yourself as well, yeah?
Yeah, that was just a little bit harder, just a few more pieces of paperwork. But yeah, it was super easy. Like,
people don't
nothing
need
really challenging about that.
People don't need assistance, legal migration assistance for the 417s, do they?
No, definitely not.
No, exactly. Yeah. I'm sort of all about empowerment, and people ask, "Can I do a 417 for them?" I say, "No, you do it yourself." And is there anything in it that you'd sort of advise people to be confident about? And what are the potential traps if you do it yourself? Are there any?
I mean, this is going back 6-7 years ago. I can't really remember exactly the detail of the forms, but I remember it being a breeze. Now, as you know, David, obviously the visa that I went through to stay here permanently was a bit more way more detailed. In comparison to that, it was nothing.
Yeah, beautiful. Because there's a lot of mistakes made in visas of a more significant subclass. But basically, anyone who wants a 417 can do it themselves, just as long as they're eligible. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that was the thing. I didn't like with the 417. Obviously, really straightforward. I knew that it wasn't going to be sent back, but with the other visa that I went through, it's kind of I didn't want to have to send it away and then have it returned and then fill it out and then send. I didn't want that kind of chopping and changing. That's why I went through you, and it made the process a whole lot easier.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
You're one of the. Can we just pop back to golf for a second? Caddies. Caddies intrigue me. You're a professional. You drive like a champion. Why do you need a caddy to tell you? Oh yeah, Chris, use a 5-iron for this shot. You know what club to use. What's the purpose of a caddy?
Carry your bag.
Carry your bags.
Obviously, these bags are quite heavy, so I think that's amazing. You look at caddy's bag. You look in a caddy's bag. It's probably full of stuff and weighs a ton. That would be a start, but also like just a bit of secondary advice, I suppose. Like these caddies are really knowledgeable about the courses. First of all, going to help you read the greens. I suppose when you're a tour player on the PGA Tour, for example, you might get a little bit lonely, and I don't know, a bit of a friend by your side that's kind of helping you along the way. But yeah,
because I've always wondered. I mean, are you know, if I carried your bags around and told you, look, Chris, you're about 20 use an 8-iron, you'd take it stuffed. You know what to do. You don't need me for the. No.
Yeah, I think the caddies work quite closely with the players. They kind of know kind of how to settle them in certain situations. For example, it's more just to kind of keep the players on a knee, like level-headed, I suppose, out there. Bit of a second opinion on a few things.
Chris, I want to ask you a few things about Australia before we go back to a golf question. Where have you looked around in Australia, like on your second visa, second working holiday visa?
Yeah.
Where did you go and check out?
So I was actually when I came back from my second year, it was actually to come back and work in the golf industry. It was I believe the way the working holiday works is you can only work in the same place for 6 months.
Correct. Yeah.
But then I came back to work for that same company after I'd been away, and I spent some time there, and I went off to work at another place. But it was all in Melbourne, so the only time I would get away was to go on holiday. So I've seen there's a few places I want to see, but I've been over to Adelaide, obviously been over to Sydney. Haven't been up to the north just yet, and also want to go to Perth. Yeah, I've definitely kind of explored a little bit, but yeah, it wasn't really like I came back to just travel around. It was more just to work. But yeah, in a couple of different places, which was okay, and it wasn't ideal because I wanted to obviously stay and work in that at that golf course. But I left and I got a job in the city at a retail store, which it wasn't quite what I wanted to do, but it actually kind of helped me out in terms of a few things that I was uncertain about with like club fitting. I got to know a lot about the kind of latest products as well. So it was a nice break in hindsight.
So, Chris, the experience in Australia, what has surprised you most about Australia or Australians?
Surprised me. I think how similar the culture is. Like from the UK to over here, like everyone is. I think maybe people here are a little bit more laid back, because like my opinion is that the lifestyle is a lot better, and I think for that reason, people tend to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more carefree. But in terms of how similar the people are, it's such an easy transition for me. I was obviously like worried about going off over to Australia. I'm an English guy. I've just moved to a place called Randwick in Sydney, and it's kind of like Spot the Australian. It's got, so
Is it full of it? Is it full of expats? Is it full of
yeah,
English?
100%. Yeah, it's full of people from UK. So yeah, it's feel completely at home.
Is it like the equivalent of Earl's Court? I walked through Earl's Court, and all I could hear was, "Oh, g'day, how are you?" Earl's Court and Randwick. I'll keep that in mind. Now, tell me, you've been in Sydney for 3 months now. It's quite different to Melbourne. It's quite different to Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. There's a few things that are definitely different. I've been trying to get in as kind of just diving into work to start with, but yeah, there's certainly differences that I can see straight away. The beaches here are incredible, but the roads are completely they're terrible. I hate the roads.
Yeah, mayhem.
Traffic lights every 50 meters, and it's around where I am anyway. There's just traffic lights everywhere, and it's difficult to get to all the little locations. Melbourne's much better for that. But what I liked about Melbourne was the sporting culture, because I'm big into my sports, and I really got into the AFL, and the Formula One was there, and it was just fantastic for me.
Okay, well, I can't let that comment go. AFL is the superior game in the world, apart from a solitary game like golf. Discuss.
As an Englishman, golf will always be the best sport, but football or soccer, as you guys call it, is always close number 2. So that's just the sport I grew up with. It's something that I've followed all my life. So
who do you follow?
You're a Napoli fan, David, yeah?
I'm a mad Napoli fan. Tattooed on my leg. I'm mad. Who do you follow in the Premier League?
I'm a Liverpool fan.
You're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
They're all right. They're having a bad season, but they're going to come out of it, aren't they?
I hope so. Yeah, it's been a bit of a season. Just getting dumped out of the Champions League as well wasn't ideal, but yeah, take the rough with the smooth. Last year, I feel like everything went for us, and now we're having a bit of a difficulty with injuries, but we'll be back. Hopefully,
no doubt about that.
Well, I know. Like I think Steven Gerrard's going to come in as manager. I've got a feeling.
Jeez, you're kidding. So Jurgen will get the bullet.
No, I think next year. I think next year they'll. I'm not sure Klopp's that keen on staying. I don't know. It seems a bit uncertain at the minute, but Stevie Gerrard, it won't be long before he's the man at the top there. So.
Did you see his tribute at Ibrox? Was it Ibrox the other day when he went back? Extraordinary. How many people would have been outside the ground? How many people would have been outside?
He's a god in those parts now, isn't he?
Oh, it was beautiful. Grant, he was driven. Was he driven? Where was it? At Ibrox? Was he driven into Ibrox or?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But,
I listened to the BBC overnight, so I sort of hear all about it. But still, Chris, have you played any AFL? Have you picked up a ball? No. So you still only travel in one direction, running forward, running back, running forward, running back.
I've had a go at like
handballing.
And then, yeah. I don't know.
Did you work? Did you work that out all right? Did you? How are your skills on that? No.
Not really. I couldn't kick the ball properly. It's tricky. I've got respect for it. I definitely follow the sport, but yeah, it's probably not one that I'll pursue.
Well, the women are having their grand final as we speak. Right. So that's why I'm watching my phone. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm waiting to see who won. Chris, sorry, David. I want to ask a golf question.
Oh, go.
Are golf professionals mean to each other?
So that's a question for me, did you say?
Yeah, well, David and I don't know any other golf
Okay.
professionals out on tour. Like some of the massive egos that we see on TV and whatnot. What are they like
So,
when you have?
are you talking about kind of millionaire PGA Tour professionals, or like your average club professional?
Well, if you go and play a tournament, and
Yeah.
I'm guessing that if you're playing a tournament, most of the people entered will be professionals, I would say.
Yeah.
So are they generally nice to each other and cooperative and whatnot, or
Yeah.
I guess what I'm getting at the lower levels of the sport are
Yeah.
do those are those big egos and bad behavior and whatnot that you can see at the top level, are they already developed? Is sport
No, I think,
is sport always like that?
well, I think kind of at the top of I think really like where the kind of my level of professional, it's very much a mutual respect between all the professionals. We work hard, and we know that we're obviously in the same boat. But I think from the tour level, that's when you see the big characters. Some of the most successful sportsmen, they've always got that little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and that can kind of come across in a kind of in a bad way. And I think that's maybe what you're referring to, is that there's that kind of, they're so sure about themselves, and there's obviously a reason they're as good as they are, because they're that confident, and that maybe comes across in an arrogant manner, which is probably it can cause a little bit of conflict, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't really see that. No, we're quite
John Daly. I'm thinking of John Daly. I mean, if he'd been clean, could he have been better?
Oh, he's one of the most talented golfers you'll ever see, for sure.
But he loved to drink, didn't he? He loved a cigarette.
I mean,
didn't.
I mean, he had a good career. I mean, he kind of. I think that's the thing with golf. There's that many ways to do it. He had a certain. He had his own little method, but he had some success for sure. But yeah, I think he could have been a lot better if he kind of looked after his body. But that's just my opinion.
You marketed the game really well during lockdown with your Instagram trick shots. You made golf fun. You made it intimate. You made it indoors. You brought golf indoors. Tell Grant and tell listeners about your tricks, because I was watching them before we went on, and talk about dexterity and hand-eye coordination. Extraordinary stuff.
Yeah, go to my page and have a look. It's quite good fun. It was good fun for me. Like, kept me. It just kind of kept me driven to do something every day. I had to get a bit creative, and every day for 6 weeks, I did a trick shot inside my apartment. And have a look at the Instagram and see what you think to it, because there's a few good ones in there.
You have any mothers ring you and say, my daughter's just ruined my vase? I mean, my favorite's the one where you've got, is it a vase on your head and you catch the rebound?
Yes. So it's like a glass sellotape. I think it's sellotape to my head. You have to see it. You have to see it to really understand.
I'm always wondering about how young people can find a pathway into golf, because it's not a game that you can take up on very limited resources, I don't think, unless you happen to have someone who will hand down some clubs for you. But how do you go about, as a club professional, mentoring young people who either have an insane passion for the game, like yourself, or people that you spot with really serious talent that could be developed?
So, from a junior standpoint, the structure that we had over at my old club, it's a bit different where I am now, because they're a little bit older. They have the cadet series, which is they're around the ages of about 10 that they started the club that I'm at right now. But before we started at the age of around about 5, we would have it would be a really good culture where, for example, if Johnny was growing out of his clubs, I would kind of take them and pass them down to another person within that class. But the good thing about the classes were the clubs were there to use. Like there's lots of my golf programs around where you don't actually need a set of golf clubs to get started. The same with the beginner clinic. The Get to Golf clinics are brilliant as well. You don't actually need a club. Now, there's definitely options to buy. For example, if I'm starting out as and I'm an adult, you can go and you can buy a set of golf clubs for about $500 that are going to stand you in good stead. So I think it's just a bit of a misconception as to the costs involved. You can make it cheap. Lots of different second-hand options available as well. So my advice would be to get into a beginner clinic, and then the pro will look after you. Because I'm always like, say for example, I've got someone that's showing a lot of promise. I'll kind of look after them in terms of finding them a set that's going to be suitable for them, setting them up with a program of lessons to, like, in that group environment. It's quite cheap to do it, and you're learning as much as you would in an individual from a one-on-one lesson, which is fantastic.
Any young guys or girls you're coaching that we need to keep an eye out for in the future?
So I'm in a bit of a transition at the minute. I've only been at this club for 2 months, so you can definitely have a look at a few of the kids from my old place. There's a few good ones coming through, and also very promising junior section over at New South Wales Golf Club as well. Yeah, not one in particular. Definitely a few that I've got on my books at the minute that are definitely showing a lot of promise. And I think the hardest thing is they get to that kind of age, is that kind of late teenage age. They go off to uni, discover girls, discover alcohol, and that's kind of, they put golf on the back burner. But we're going to give them the best opportunity to get as good as they can if they choose to.
David, it's sort of folklore that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. So, Chris, have you done 10,000 hours practicing those amazing trick shots that kept you busy during lockdown?
I mean, it felt like 10,000 hours. Like some of the I think the one that took the longest was almost about 2 hours. So that was pretty. But yeah, I've definitely not really paid too much attention to the playing side of things. It's more kind of really found a passion for teaching, and that's what's kind of led me to be where I am now, which is yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Any pros or any young golfers listening in the United Kingdom or anywhere else for that matter, if they were thinking about coming to Australia, what would you say to them?
I'd say come and see it for yourself, and then decide. Like, there's really nothing. If you've got the option to come over, obviously the travel's restricted at the moment. You can't just come over, and I'm not sure how it is at the minute. You can't really come just a tourist visa, I assume.
Correct.
Come check it out. Like, find work if you can, and come see what it's all about. You can always, if it doesn't work out, just go home. You know, that was my mentality to start with, but I love the place so much that I just ended up staying. So created a bit of life here, met people, found a job. It's yeah, just kind of snowballed from there, and yeah, I feel like it's been the best thing I've ever done, for sure.
Grant, you go.
I'm just I just want to get a bit of a recommendation for how to start a cool Instagram channel.
Oh, you've had a look. You've had a look. It's the trick shots are fantastic.
Well, I couldn't not know about it, because I think one of the nightly news shows did a feature on your Instagram, which I don't know if you know, but someone ran a segment of here's one way to avoid boredom during lockdown. So that was how I was aware of you. Yeah, I'll try and hunt it up. I think it was on Channel 7.
Are
Yeah.
you sure it's me?
Well, I don't think there was anyone else doing amazing stuff like you were doing. Oh, look, I might be mistaken, but that was when David mentioned you to me, that was what I thought of.
I was on your page every day, Chris. I love the tricks. I thought they were fantastic.
Glad to hear it. What would you like to see more of next, David?
Well, do you know what it was? You actually you deconstructed golf and made it less formal. One of the things as a kid I always remember teeing off on the first hole. My God, those in the 19th hole having their beer watching me play, and I'd shank it or just destroy it. Get stage fright.
Yeah, we want to try and get rid of that perception. Really, we want to try and make it fun and accessible for all. That's really, obviously, there's going to be clubs that are high prestige and they cost a lot to join, but there's always a way to play, and we want to try and make it the best sport in the world. I think it already is, but we want to change that stereotype.
Last question, Chris. Did you ever see Happy Gilmore?
I did. He's my hero.
Did he do good or bad for the game?
Well, just like we were talking about just then, we're a sport that's, I believe we get a bit of a bad rap. It's a fantastic game, and Happy Gilmore, he made it fun. And every time I get after the driving range, I see kids like running up to the ball and trying to hit it. So I think any publicity that we can get like that, like we just got to work off that and try and feed off it. But yeah.
But of course, the greatest golfing movie ever made was Caddyshack.
Yeah.
So,
for the migrate generation, definitely Happy Gilmore, but maybe for the older one, Caddyshack for sure.
Now, you've come to Australia. You're teaching at the 9th best course outside the United States, the 34th or 38th best course in the world. It's a remarkable achievement. What's your next goal? What's next on the agenda?
I want to get established where I am now, and I understand that it's going to take a lot of hard work to become a full-time coach over there. At the minute, I'm working. Doing around about 15 hours a week of teaching, but the idea is to kind of grow. I mean, after 2 months, I feel like that's quite good, but I know that I can become full-time. Doing upwards of 30 hours a week. That's my kind of short-term goal. And then long-term, I want to start to really focus on teaching elite golfers. Hopefully get onto one of the tours when the travel is permitting.
and which passport will you have to use when you're up on the screen on the TV? Will you have brackets AUS or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. But can I put both down or?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Are you allowed to? I mean, I think if you have to nominate who you represent, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but yeah,
you get good press, and make sure you tell the journalists you're a citizen of both countries because it's allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Proud Englishman, but yeah, proud to be in Australia as well. So
because I think
we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Hey,
because golf's an Olympic sport now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you'd have to make a choice. Would you wear the red, white, and blue strip or the green and gold strip?
Yeah, unfortunately, it would have to be English. No. Or is it? Well, the Great British flag, space.
You're a good man, Chris. It's busy on a Saturday for a golfer. You've given up a fair portion of your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming by.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure. Good to speak to you both.
Well, good luck with it all, Chris. Sorry, we've what have we cost you? A couple of $100 there.
It's all right. I've been at work this morning, so nice busy Saturday for me. We don't mind that.
Ripper. David, have we got any immigration updates that we need to put out there?
No, everybody needs to keep in mind that for Victoria, at least, there's one more invitation round for the 190 in May. And on the 18th of April, the 18th of April, the 18th of April, the April round will be released. Who's been lucky, who hasn't been, for the 491 and the 190. New migration news coming up July 1. That will be very interesting, because we'll see what happens with COVID rollout between now and then. And, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some surprises, because we need to get the program back on track. And I would love to see at least international students exempt or allowed in.
I've got some personal COVID news. I had the jab. I had the jab 2 days ago, and boy, it's rough.
COVID or AstraZeneca? AstraZeneca or Pfizer?
I had the AstraZeneca, and the side effects are not what you would call serious, but they, I'll just put it this way. If you think you're going to be rocking up to work the next day, certainly if you're going to be operating machinery or anything like that, don't. That would be my my thoughts. So,
how are you feeling today?
Yeah, foggy. Foggy would be the best thing. Last night, chills. Didn't have a fever, but I had chills all night, and that was tough. And there's a low level headache that you just get. Look, some people have horrible side effects. I don't want to be whinging, but I just think that if we're all slated to be vaccinated, I think there's going to be a lot of really genuine sick days that need to be accounted for, because I couldn't possibly have done anything worthwhile or useful late yesterday or last night. Just couldn't have.
All right.
So, hello, all the happy news there. Well,
have a good afternoon, Chris. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Talk to you guys soon.
What's the good luck term in golf? The only one I ever heard was playing through.
We'll go with that one.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Well, David, I don't think we really have much more to add. Have we got a what's coming up? Look, I've been teasing for ages. Our Immigration Museum episode will be out soon, unless something really important means we push it back again.
What we have to do soon is have the crab jaffles down at Alan Wong's joint.
We do. Alan Chong's joint. TN38. We do. Actually, David, I might go and scout it out and see whether we could possibly do a show from down there. Wouldn't it be good if we could do it down there with like a studio audience and do some Q&A? How cool would that be?
Well, as long as we didn't interrupt Alan's staff, because they'd have some great stories, but we'd have to do it outside of service, I think, so that we could get some of the stories of his team, because no doubt they'd have many great stories, important stories.
Oh, look, I think we could go into any restaurant kitchen and get good migration stories. But certainly the 700 meals a day, boy, oh boy.
Beautiful man. 700 meals a day. And that's extraordinary. Grant, you go rest.
David, I'm going to go and have another cup of tea and chill.
Have another cup of tea. And I'm probably October vaccine, so I'll let you know how I go.
Well, we can't go without saying, make sure you check out the fantastic golf tricks on Instagram. I'll link to that. And of course, if you do need some help with any immigration matter, even if you're planning ahead, long time in the future, which is always prudent.
Absolutely, Grant. I encourage people who are thinking long term to talk, so we get to give them an idea of what they have to think about, what changes can happen between now and when they actually make application. To be proactive in immigration is to be successful.
So, David, anybody can find you on Instagram and Twitter at David Bongiorno.
Twitter's the easiest, at David Bongiorno, all one word, DAVID VIDBONGIORNO. And that is the fastest way to reach me. On Twitter, on my Twitter page, I have my phone number. If people want to call and tee up a time to talk, I'm happy to do that as well.
Fabaroni. All right. Well, that concludes another amazing episode of Migrating to Australia. Ciao.
Ciao.